Hi, everyone. Hi. Happy Wednesday, guys, and welcome to our live session once again. Hope everyone is doing great. I see you guys hopping in on Instagram, on Facebook. Welcome, welcome. I see some familiar faces. Welcome, guys. I'll give you guys a couple more seconds to join in, and then I will get started in what we'll be looking at today. So I'm going to start off with the immigration PNP programs particular. So start off with the Pnp Draws. There's been a lot of activity as per usual, nothing new in the realms of Pnp Draws. So we'll be touching on some of those, and I'll be looking at the labor report. So we had a recent labor report from Statistics Canada on the labor market for October. So we'll be looking at that as well. And I'll also be touching on some of the more recent news items. So you guys want to stay tuned. We'll be looking at the Bridging Open Work Permit, which we've had some recent changes on as well. All right, guys. All right, so I'll get started. And as usual, let me know in the comments where you guys are joining me from. Okay, so we'll start off with British Columbia. So BC tends to have weekly immigration draws to their PNP programs. And so they actually had a draw yesterday. This draw, they invited 287 candidates to apply for permanent residence. Again, they're applying for permanent residence through the British Columbia Provincial Nominee Program. And this draw, they had different categories. So they had a skilled worker category, which the minimum score for that was 93. They had skilled workers, international graduates, so a number of different categories for BC here. And the minimum scores for this one were different. In previous draws, they usually are the same. These are a little different this time, but they had about 5 categories. So they had skilled workers, and they had 3 streams for skilled workers, and they had express entry categories, and they had 2 streams for those. They also had a draw separately for those in NOC 0621 and 0631. So they typically will, you'll see them do that typically for those 2 NOCs because of the hospitality sector in British Columbia, right? So those occupations are generally of importance to British Columbia. And then I'll move on to Manitoba. So Manitoba also had a provincial nominee program draw on November 1st, and they invited a total of 421 candidates to apply for provincial nomination through the Manitoba PNP program. And from this draw, they selected skilled workers in Manitoba, a total of 350 invitations, and then skilled workers overseas, where they had 38 invitations, and the international education stream, they had 33 invitations. They also invited some candidates from the express entry system as well. All right, so that was for Manitoba. Then I'll move on to Alberta. So Alberta had a draw on October 26th. So typically with Alberta, they'll have the draw, but they may not issue the results right away, right? So it will be sometime after the draw that we'll find that they have issued the results, and they'll tell you what the breakdown of those draws were. So they had one on October 26th, and they have recently made this public, and they invited 248 candidates from the express entry pool. So remember, if you guys have been following, you know that Alberta is one of those provinces who typically will make a selection of candidates for their PNP streams directly from the express entry system, right? And so the CRS cutoff for this draw was 300. So that's pretty low. This brings the total number of invitations issued by Alberta since the start of the year to over 6,000. So they have been doing their draws every month consistently. All right, so I'm going to move on from there, and I'm going to be talking about the labor market update. So there was a recent labor market update issued by Statistics Canada. And so this is a government agency, and they will have, different updates and statistics being released on different topics, all Canadian. And so in this recent update for October, Canada added over 31,000 jobs. So we're seeing a reduction in the unemployment rate. So the overall unemployment rate fell to 6.7%. And this is generally low compared to what we were seeing throughout the pandemic with job losses and stuff like that. So the unemployment rate continues to fall. And this has been the 5th consecutive month that we have seen a fall in the unemployment rate. So that's actually a move in the right direction. Particularly two provinces, Ontario and New Brunswick, they experience employment numbers, growth in their employment numbers to a level that was higher than previous months, and also higher than other provinces. So this was just for October, right? So Ontario and New Brunswick had the highest gains. All right, and then a part of the statistics that they released was some data on recent immigrants, right? And I think you guys will find this interesting. So far in 2021 rather, Canada has invited over 200,000 permanent residents have actually come to Canada so far this year, right? And that's way higher than last year in its entirety. So in 2020, this 2020 was an anomaly, right? It was an extraordinary year. But in 2020, the total number of permanent residents that were accepted in that year was 184,000. And so far this year, it's been over 200,000 already. And what I found very interesting was the statistics for recent immigrants. And they noted that there were declines, of course, due to the pandemic and due to the restrictions on international travel in their previous numbers, right? But the number of very recent, and that's what they term them, very, very recent immigrants to Canada increased in recent months. And then they have seen that the employment rate for recent immigrants have also increased. And what that means is that those who are coming to Canada, they're getting jobs. And when they say very recent immigrants, we're talking about those who have come to Canada within the last 5 years, right? So 5 years or less, you would be termed a new immigrant for this purpose. And they have seen an increase in the employment rate for recent immigrants. And it's been higher than the 2 previous years. So that's actually really good, right? It's been higher than the previous 2 years and even going further back. So that's actually very good in the sense of, and these are not seasonally adjusted numbers. And like I said, this is based on the data that was released for October. So that means that the immigrants who are coming to Canada, recent immigrants who came within the last 5 years, they have seen employment going up. They have all been, well, most of them, I won't say all, but they have been getting jobs. So that increased by 11%. So over 77,000 were able to get jobs. Now, we don't know the time period between them actually coming to Canada to land as permanent residents and them getting jobs. I mean, that's information that we definitely could request. The government has an open open data website where you can actually go and see these numbers. And if they're not posted, you can actually request the information. But I think that would be some good stats to have as well in terms of the time period between actually coming to Canada and them having jobs. So I'm moving on to the TR to PR pathway. So some of you may know about this program. It was a program that was launched early in the year, and it was aimed at helping those who are in Canada to basically remain in Canada. So if they were in Canada, maybe on a study permit, or they were on a work permit, this program was introduced in the light of the pandemic to provide a pathway for those who are temporary residents in Canada to be able to transition to permanent residence. So it was a very one-off program. Nothing like this has ever been done. And so it opened back in May, on May 6th, and it closed on November 5th. So the intake for that recently closed. And it was aimed at providing a pathway to permanent residence for essential workers. So those who are essential workers throughout the pandemic, international graduates. So again, those who were international students who have studied in Canada, and also healthcare workers and French speakers. Okay, so that was a very good program. I myself have had a few clients who were able to make use of that program. Some of them have actually been in Canada for a long time, and they were not able to get permanent residence through other pathways for whatever reason, various reasons. And so a lot of even temporary residents in Canada who were here working, but maybe because of the not code of their jobs, they were not able to apply for permanent residence. So this actually did create a pathway for a lot of them. And some people have actually, so like I said, the program was open back in May. Some of them have actually been granted their permanent resident status already. So some people receive very quick processing. And as I go further, so I'll touch on the recent announcement also about the request for proof of citizenship. So Canada has announced that they are now accepting online requests for proof of citizenship and citizenship records. And this will be something that will be very beneficial for especially those who are outside of Canada. For example, you have a lot of people who are Canadian citizens, but they don't know that they're Canadian citizens, right? Or they are, but they want to prove that they are so that they can get the documentation in order to travel to Canada. So you can actually be a Canadian citizen and you've never been in Canada, right? So I've seen some of those cases. And this would typically happen when maybe you have a parent who is a Canadian citizen and they had a child outside of Canada, and that child may have grown up and now have decided that they want to come to Canada. So there have been a lot of those cases. So with this online platform, it's allowing them to submit their application online. Because remember, the pandemic has created a lot of opportunities, and in terms of being able to do things virtually, right? And it has also prompted the IRCC to create a lot of systems to accept applications online. So this is now one more of those. We have a few other systems that were created within this year to facilitate certain applications that were paper-based. So one of which might be the Pnp program application. So some of the Pnp programs, somebody says, I'm a Canadian citizen who has never been to Canada. Maybe you can do a search for that to see, just to confirm, so you can travel to Canada. Yeah, there are a few people like that. I've come across a few who are Canadians, but they just didn't know it, or they didn't have proof of it. So, and usually it's by descent, so maybe like a parent or something who was a Canadian citizen. So yeah, with this platform, they're able to request proof of replacement, proof of citizenship, and claim for proof of citizenship by descent, right? And search for citizenship records. So very accommodating, and it will be very convenient for a lot of people who don't have to go through the paper-based process. And like I was saying with the PNP system, some of the PNP program, for example, the ones that are done outside of the express entry system, these were all paper-based applications. So once you've been nominated by the provincial government, typically you would, from there, you would make an application for permanent residence on paper, right? And so they have sought to streamline that process and allow online applications. Also, one to note would be the spousal sponsorship applications. So some applications, let me just say family class. So some family class applications are now able to be done, that were not able to be done online previously, are now able to be done online. So that's a very good move as well. Some of these systems, though, they can definitely be problematic, and you'll find that a lot of times the Government of Canada system is either down or it's giving some problems. So if any of you are experiencing any of those problems, it just requires a little bit of patience. All right, so there were some recent changes as well to the Bridging Open Work Permit program. So I want to touch on that as well. And this will be my final note, guys. And you can pop any questions in the comments. I might look at a few of them as time permits. So the Bridging Open Work Permit is essentially a work permit option that allows some individuals who are currently in Canada on a work permit and who have applied for permanent residence under certain categories to apply for an extension of their work permit, essentially. So you're bridging the gap between your current work permit expiry and you getting permanent residence, right? So you don't have to leave Canada. So that's essentially what this work permit does. And to be eligible for this, there are some requirements that will need to be met, but they have actually recently made some changes to kind of relax some of the requirements. So a lot more people will benefit from having this work permit. And believe me, it is a sigh of relief for a lot of people who might be in Canada. So for example, maybe you've come to study and you have applied for permanent residence, your work permit is about to expire, there's no other way to extend it. So this will definitely be a ray of hope for a lot of people. So like I mentioned, it's there to bridge the gap between the expiry of the current work permit and the final decision being made on the application for permanent residence, right? And it's an open work permit, basically allowing you to work for any employer in Canada. So with the adjustment, the program now includes applications for those who have applied under the Quebec Act. So previously not included under this work permit option. And one very important thing, I think the most significant change for a lot of people will be the fact that they no longer have to wait for the 4-month period. So it removes the rule that individuals can only apply for the bridging work permit if they had a work permit that would have been set to expire within 4 months, right? And it extends the eligibility for those applying for restoration. So for those who are in Canada, generally you can apply to restore your status if you, for whatever reason, you may have become out of status. Usually you can apply to restore your status within 90 days of having lost that status. And those persons typically would not have been eligible for this work permit. Now it's extending eligibility to those who are still able to restore their status. So if you have lost status and you are within that 90-day period, then you may be able to apply for a work permit like this. So this basically means that you can apply for the open work permit, the bridging open work permit earlier, and helps to ensure that you remain in status, that you have a work permit that would replace your current one before it expires. So it does give you a lot more peace of mind, and you don't have to worry about, your status running out and, trying to figure all of that, or whether you have to leave the country and try to come back, stuff like that. So it's definitely a move in the right direction. And then because the processing times of a lot of permanent residence applications have been extended because of the current situation, right? COVID-19. And you'll find that if the processing times are longer, it just means that a lot more people may be out of a work permit. Their work permit may run out. So again, it provides that safety net to have the extension. Now, some individuals, like I mentioned, that may have not previously been eligible for this work permit, such as those who are on maintained status. So maintained status is what they used to term implied status, which means essentially that your status has run out, but you have made an application to either change or extend your status before it expired. So now you're on implied status or maintained status because you're waiting for that decision. And like I said before, individuals who are eligible for restoration of status would able to be to benefit from this work permit as well. And there were some PNP candidates who may not have been eligible. So now PNP program applicants would be able to apply for this bridging work permit as well, as long as they their nomination indicates that they're open. Their work will be restricted. It's unrestricted, sorry. So their work will be unrestricted, meaning that they can get an open work permit. And because previously, if, for example, a person who would be under this category would be somebody who may have a provincial nomination, but it might be through an employment offer, right? And in which case, the work permit that they would get would be restricted. It would be restricted to only the employer that has provided the job offer. So in a case like this, that person would not be eligible for the bridging open work permit because let's see, somebody's gone. Yeah, so they would not be eligible for the bridging open work permit because their work conditions would be restricted to working for that employer. But it is open to those who have a general nomination. Maybe you applied under one of the general categories that don't require an open work permit, don't require a job offer. And in that case, once your PR application is in process, then yes, you can apply under that. It also allows those under the agri-food pilot to apply, right? So they must receive their approval in principle and submit their application online. And like I mentioned, also the Quebec skilled workers. All right. And then there is also a benefit with this program as well for spouses. So maybe there is a spouse or a common law partner who is also in Canada with the applicant. And so it's not automatic, right? So they're not automatically entitled to the bridging open work permit, but they may be able to get it if they work, right? If they want to work and they have an open work permit there are two rules. So there's a rule C41 for spouses of a skilled worker and C42 for spouses of a full-time student. So this again will make for example, the spouses of a full-time student. So if you came to Canada on a study permit, maybe your spouse had an open work permit as a result, and you're both in Canada, and your spouse is applying for the Bridging Open Work Permit to extend their work permit, know that they're working. The spouse would also be able to apply for the Bridging Open Work Permit, provided that the student, the one who studied, so that's the other partner who studied, was eligible for a postgrad work permit. Because remember, there are some programs that would not make you eligible for a postgrad work permit, right? And so if that's the case, so if you're, for example, if you're applying for a program that's not eligible, your spouse would not be able to get a work permit, right? And so that's why it's going to be very important to do your research and also ensure that you're choosing the right program. And for those who are asking, I think I saw a question about that. For those who are asking, we do offer that service where we are able to do a search. So we have a school search and admission service where we find you an acceptable program, an eligible program. And when we're looking for that program, it's going to be based on your interest, based on your budget, of course, and then also based on province, right? Based on your goals. So if your goal is to eventually be able to apply for permanent residence, we're taking that into consideration and also recommending provinces where, based on your personal situation, you would be able to more easily apply for permanent residence. But this also becomes another factor as well. You want to ensure that the program is eligible for the postgrad work permit, which will allow you to work following your studies. And it's only for programs that are eligible for the postgrad work permit where your spouse would be able to apply for an open work permit as well, right? So that's going to be very, very important. So if you're planning to have your spouse apply for a postgrad work permit and your program is not eligible, your spouse is not going to be able to apply for that. So please bear that in mind. All right. And that's all I wanted to cover today. Let me just see the questions. Yeah, so somebody is saying, I am interested in migrating to Canada. What are the requirements to start the process? All right. So if any of you were on our recent webinars, we covered quite a bit of information there. But to answer your question, there are a number of different programs. So what you'll have to do is to figure out which program might be best suited for you and for your family to come to Canada. And then from there, you can make an application. So that's to put it in very, very simple terms. What we do in that case, though, to assist, so we have a couple options. We do a consultation, right? So in order to assist with that, we do a consultation to help you determine which program might be best suited and what are the steps that you need to take in order to apply. So for more information on that, you can send us a DM. So I see the question is asked on Instagram. Send us a DM and we can give you further instructions, or go to the link in the bio and you will see options there where you can actually schedule your consultation. Okay. And where's the best place to find all the programs? If you want information overload, you can go on Canada.ca. Canada.ca. That's where you find everything. And then after you've gone there, and hopefully you're not completely confused, you can come back here. Yeah, but that's where you would go to find anything about coming to Canada. Canada.ca. That's the official Government of Canada website. If I am interested in the tourism and hospitality, I guess, program. I'm not sure what your question is. Will that program be eligible? It's more about the school. So it's gonna be based on the school that you choose. For that purpose, though, what we normally do is a study in Canada consultation, right? Yeah. So Canada.ca is where you would go. Oh, what's that? Sorry, guys. Canada.ca is where you'd go to find out more. Okay. And I'm seeing somebody's asking about consultation. For consultation, there are different options. So if you go on our website, nccanadaimmigration.com, you should be able to see the details there. I'll just put it in the chat for you. All right, so I'll take another question. Please, any updates on pending PR application? Most applicants don't know what is going on their application for over a year. I'm not sure which program you applied under. And also, I wouldn't be able to update you because I am not IRCC. But yeah, it will depend on, because remember, okay, I don't know what I keep touching, guys. Remember, each situation is different, right? And the processing time for different programs will be different as well. So I'm not sure what you applied under or what's happening with your case. A good way to find out more information from IRCC, if you feel like you're stuck in the process, send them a web form. So submit a web form inquiry if it's been taking a lot longer than the posted processing time. Or you can also submit a case file request or GCMS notes request to see what's going on with that application. Is there a work program where I can work and bring my children with me? There are different types of programs. For most job-related program, you would have to find employment from where you are, so from outside Canada. There are other options as well, such as if you're coming as an international student, so you're essentially studying and working. So you'll study full-time and then you'll work for up to 20 hours per week. I'm over 38 years pastry chef. Yeah, like I mentioned, you'd have to do a consultation. I won't be able to provide any case-specific advice here in this forum. I can take general questions, but I won't be able to provide you any information on a specific case because we would need a lot more information than that. Okay. All right. I think that's it. Somebody's saying if I have been granted a study permit for a specific school, can you switch DLIs before entering? Okay. You can change your DLI. You can change your DLI, but you will have to inform. It depends on where you are in the process, right? Are you in Canada? Was your study permit? Well, you said your study permit was already granted, right? It depends on where you are. Are you outside of Canada? Are you in Canada? Regardless, though, you can switch DLI, but you have to inform IRCC of the change. Okay, all right, guys. I think that's it for us today. Gone through all your questions. Yeah, I think that's it for us today. Thank you guys so much for joining. And like I mentioned, if you guys have further questions, send us a DM. If you're on Instagram, on Facebook, send us a message. Yeah, send us a DM. Or send an email to info@nccanadaimmigration.com. Go on our website if you need to schedule a consultation. So it's nccanadaimmigration.com. And that's usually our intake process. So generally, before we can help you, we start off with a consultation session. All right. And then we can assist from there. I see Dekithra saying she missed it. Dekithra, you can watch the replay. I'll catch you guys later. All right, take care.